So there have been some changes in my reptile room since you guys last saw it. Also, my furnace is currently running, so I do apologize if it's a little bit noisy, but it's really cold here in Ottawa, so I need my furnace on. Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and look at the changes. So if you guys watched my most recent video introducing my new chameleons, you guys would have noticed that there were some changes to this general area of the reptile room. There's a few others I want to mention, but we'll focus on this shelf right here. So top shelf has stayed completely the same, but the middle and the bottom shelf has had some changes. So the most notable changes on the middle shelf here is the fact that my Lychee Gecko and my Chihuahua Gecko have been moved off of this shelf and put onto this shelf. Now this is actually probably going to be completely temporary. Well, not even probably. It is going to be completely temporary because I've mentioned before my Lychee and my Chihuahua are getting upgrades really soon. Obviously this is a 12 by 12 by 18, which isn't suitable for a full-size Lychee or Chihuahua. They need a bigger enclosure. So those upgrades are happening soon. So I just kind of put them on this shelf for the meantime while they're still in these enclosures, because honestly, they just fit on here really well. And I have a 4-foot UVB strip that fits across all 4 cages really, really well. So as I pointed out in my last video, these are my Brady Pody and Thamnobates right here. They're staying here, they're doing great. And then my Chihuahua and my Lychee. So with that said, you know, me pointing out that they're not staying on this shelf here, let's talk about kind of this over here. So I've mentioned before, this is Derek, the gargoyle gecko, Dorito, my crested gecko, then we have Mark, my day gecko, and then we have an empty cage. And we have a little space on the shelf right here. So this cage right here is going to be my Chihuahua's upgrade. That I will be working on soon. I'm actually in the process of doing an upgrade for my day gecko, which you will find right here. So I'm currently building him a completely new enclosure. I have like a background made. Obviously it's not done. I still need to like silicone it and do a bunch more work to it. I am filming some of this, so you guys will get to see some more of that in the future. But anyway, so this cage is going to be for my day gecko. So this one will replace this cage right here, because to be honest, it's pretty sad looking. A lot of the plants have died off and I just haven't bothered replacing them because I know he's getting a new cage. So now once my day gecko cage is completely finished, my Chihuahua Gecko is going to be the next one I work on, because I want to do the same thing. I want to make a custom background, I want to foam it and add branches and everything. So that's what's going to happen to this one here. There's a plant in this cage right now. It's kind of just there for no reason. I'm not sure if I'm going to put that plant in once I like actually do the cage. Probably not, to be honest, but it's there for now. And then if we look right over here, we have a little empty spot on the shelf. I mean, right now it has some plants and stuff on it, but those aren't going to be staying there. What is going to be going there is my Lychee Gecko cage. I've talked about this before, but my Lychee is going to be getting a 24 by 18 by 24 Exoterra. So the same height as all these ones, but it's going to be a bit wider. And now I can't actually buy that size local. I haven't found anywhere local to me that sells it, but at the end of the month I am taking a little road trip to Toronto for a night. So while I'm in Toronto, I'm hoping to pick up that enclosure because I know there are some stores in Toronto that sell that size. So hopefully by the end of the month, I'll have the cage for my Lychee. And then once those cages are done, they can obviously come out of these enclosures. And for the meantime, that will just leave those cages empty. I don't really have any future plans for them at the moment, but that's the plan for now. Now, there were some other changes on this shelf here that, you know, persist to the bottom cage here. So now this is my Aki Monitor's cage, and it's probably hard to tell on camera, but he actually got a cage upgrade. So he was previously in a 20-gallon long, which you can see right there. That's his old cage, and I decided to upgrade him to a 40-gallon. Now, people might have questions about this because I've actually already built him another cage, which you can find right here. This is going to be my Aki's cage. but I did not feel safe putting him in it right now because there are some gaps. For example, the doors don't sit flush against the cage. There is a little bit of a gap down there, and they're really, really good escape artists, so I don't want to risk him potentially being able to squeeze out. So this is going to wait until he's a little bit bigger, and I know he won't be able to squeeze out of it. But I just found that the 20-gallon was getting too small, so I thought that a 40-gallon would be the perfect in-between size to upgrade him to. Now, if you guys know me, you probably know that I absolutely hate top opening cages, which would explain why I have so many front opening ones. But honestly, I just decided to go with this because the top opening ones are so much cheaper, and where I know this is only going to be temporary, I wasn't too concerned. If this was his permanent cage, I probably would have went ahead and spent the extra money on a front opening one, but since this is probably only going to be for a few months, I thought I might as well save $200 and just get a top opening one. But with that, I had to raise this shelf up. So this shelf used to be more down here, but when it comes to a top opening cage, I need to be able to access it from the top and easily reach in. So I moved this shelf up, which is fine. It doesn't really matter if this is up here or if it was a little lower. I actually kind of like it at this height a little bit better. It's more like accessible to me. So yeah, there is that. And then I have some upgrades to Chameleon cages. So these are the backs of the cages, so we'll take a look at the front in a bit. First, I want to focus on this one. So this one here belongs to my Trioceros Montium. You guys, I don't think seen him in a video yet. I've had him for a little while. I just haven't showed him in a YouTube video, but he actually used to be in this cage right here, which was hidden in my reptile room video on that shelf along with the Bradypodian. But he's since been upgraded and stuff to this enclosure right here. I do still want to add some more plants to it. I find it's a little bit bare right up here, so I would like to do something with that. But for now, this is what we have, and it's just sitting on a little end table right now. I thought that that worked out nicely. It gives it a nice little area. That being said, let's move on to the other chameleon cages. So I mentioned before in my last reptile room video that a lot of these cages were kind of temporary setups, and I planned on doing a lot of upgrades. One of the upgrades being I want to raise these off the ground, so I want to build a stand. Haven't gotten around to doing that yet, but that will be hopefully soon. But I did redo 2 of the cages completely. So now I'm not really going to bother redoing my Parsons chameleon cages, this one and this one, because as I mentioned before, I'm building them an entirely new cage, so there's no point in really giving these ones a makeover when I'm about to start building a new one. I did, however, give this one here a makeover and this one here a makeover. So these 2 cages belong to my Furcifer Varicosis. And now my veiled chameleon is over here, and he will be getting a makeover probably next week, but I did just want to focus on these 2 for now, and then I'll move on to that one, and then I'm going to start building the stands and start building the Parsons chameleon enclosure. So in order to do the makeovers, I basically bought some more plants because the temporary cages do have some fake plants in it. Now, a lot of chameleon keepers do have mixed opinions on whether you should or shouldn't use fake plants. In my opinion, I think you can use them safely, but I don't think they're ideal. I think live plants are much better, so I do like my chameleon's cages being fully live planted. So all the fake plants right now are kind of just temporary until I can redo all of them. So that's why I started with these 2. So there's no fake plants anywhere in here now. It's all live plants as well as some like natural branches. So we have some cork branches and we have some other branches. There's cherry wood and all that. So yeah, I'm hoping that these plants stay alive. I don't have a great track record with a lot of plants, as I'm sure some of you may know. I don't know, it seems to just be hit or miss with me. Like some of my cages with plants in them do super well, and then some of them just don't seem to do that well. But I'm really hoping that I'll have success with these ones. So now here's the other one. So this one right here is the male, and the one I just showed was the female. But I am pretty happy with the way it turned out. I think I could make a few changes, but I think that the chameleons are going to be pretty happy in this cage. So there's a lot of plants here, you know, lots of coverage. The plants also help create microclimates, you know, help with humidity and temperatures and all of that. And then there's a lot of branches that they can climb on, primarily horizontal because that's what they prefer. So I have kind of my basking spot over here, making sure that it's a safe distance from the heat lamp. And then obviously they can get lower, higher, they can go farther back, come closer to the front, all sorts of things to make them feel at home and happy and secure. So lastly, I have a few updates over here. The first one I want to talk about is my leopard gecko Pepper. You can actually see her out right now. It looks like she's like kind of shedding, if it would focus. Looks like she's like starting to shed. But anyways, so you may notice I removed her UVB bulb. And the reason for that is Pepper has a neurological condition. I don't know if it's Enigma syndrome because I don't know her morph. She was a rescue, but it presents the same way as Enigma syndrome. Now, it could be Enigma syndrome or it could just be another neurological issue with a similar symptoms. But I find as she's getting older, they are getting slightly worse. Pepper is around 9 years old from what I was told, because she was around 7 when I rescued her 2 years ago. So as she's getting older, I do find they are getting a little bit worse, but she still does fine as long as I keep, you know, anything that stresses her to a minimum. I don't handle her because it stresses her out really badly and all kinds of things like that. And I found that the UVB bulb was starting to stress her out, so I decided to remove it. You know, I think that UVB can be very beneficial for leopard geckos, but there are some cases where, you know, the cons just outweigh the pros, so I decided it was best for her to have the bulb removed. Now, the last update I want to give you is the viper geckos. So these are something I've been waiting for so long. I've had this enclosure set up since May, so almost 6 months now. Actually, I think it has been 6 months, waiting for viper geckos, and I'm finally getting them. As I mentioned before, I'm going on a road trip to Toronto at the end of this month. That's when I'm hoping to pick up the Exoterra. But the main reason for that road trip is I'm finally picking up my viper geckos. So the breeder is around the Toronto area. So I'm going down there and I'm going to pick up my geckos and finally get to bring them home. Now, once I bring them home, they will be quarantined for a little bit, so they won't be going in this enclosure right away. But I'm really excited to finally be able to make use of this enclosure because I really do like the way this enclosure turned out. I'll give you guys a better look at it. I think it's super nice. I am really happy with it. So I'm super excited that I will finally get to use it because I've been waiting for these viper geckos for a really long time.